Tonight on Road Madness, why did the cyclist cross the road? To get himself killed? Drivers finding new ways of undertaking? And median barriers usually protect oncoming vehicles from head-on, but not in this crash. Cameras mounted in trucks travel the country catching dangerous driving, near fatalities and tragic crashes. And cameras at intersections and train crossings reveal shocking driving behaviour that costs Kiwis their lives. Some of it's hard to believe, some of it's laughable, and some is just plain crazy. Welcome to Road Madness. G'day, I'm Ewen Gilmour. Using the latest in vehicle drive cam technology, real truck drivers simply hit the camera to start filming the mayhem that happens in front of them every day on our roads. Median barriers have been installed on many of our motorways because they separate oncoming traffic and virtually eliminate the chance of a head-on collision. But not in this next clip. Our truck is travelling on a dual-lane motorway. There's hardly any traffic and it's been raining, but visibility is pretty good. And then the weirdest thing happens. Looking at it again, you can see the car appear down the motorway. One of the distant cars moves over to make way for it. The car hugs the concrete median barrier to avoid oncoming traffic, but then it all goes wrong. So what causes the car to spin out? This view shows how it's tucked in against the median barrier, but at this point the barrier juts out slightly. The car clips it, forcing it to spin out and across the lanes. And in this slow-mo shot, you can see the exact point the car strikes on the barrier. I bet you're wondering, how did that car get onto the other side of the motorway when there's a barrier down the middle? That's a question for Hayden Bowbuys from IVCS, the company which processes our truck camera footage.
The car actually leapt over the barrier. Cars can actually mount the barrier on a certain angle, and if that angle happens to be right, they will cross over the barrier and into the oncoming traffic lane. When you think of accidents caused by speed, I bet you're thinking extreme speed, open road. But it's not always the case. A lot of serious injuries and deaths occur because of people speeding in suburban areas and rural towns, where the speed limit is 50 or 60.
Look at this, I'm getting bloody well past in the main street of Woody End here and I'm doing 50k.
And here again, another rural town, and not one but two cars ignoring the speed limit. Country or city, these are streets where kids play. There's even a solid median strip down the middle to stop vehicles overtaking. More streets lined with houses. It's a 60k zone, but this overtaking vehicle must be doing close to 80. On the open road, our trucks are limited to 90 kilometres an hour. So when a vehicle goes screaming past, we can be pretty confident that they're way over the speed limit of 100. Like this Porsche, who runs out of passing room as he gets to the end of the passing lane and ends up going over the double yellow lines. Notice how the truck driver also moves over to make way for him. And here's another flash sports car going like the clappers. He must be doing 130, 140 Ks. Okay, there's a good chance that they're blokes and they're going through their second or third midlife crisis. But what's the excuse for all the other speedsters on our road? Are they going through a life crisis? Like this guy. It's a motorway on-ramp and he's driving like he's on a racetrack.
Yes, we set the camera going.
Look at it again. The road is narrowing down and there's an exit off to the left, but the speeding driver pulls an underpassing move to get in front. You think that driver was crazy? Take a look at this. Another wannabe racing driver, doing probably 120, 130 Ks. He just avoided a head-on collision. He swings over to the left. That's probably to see if there's any oncoming traffic, and then he's off, overtaking on a bridge as he goes. And what about this bat out of hell driver? The sign coming up says there's a passing lane just ahead, so why didn't he wait instead of executing a risky high-speed overtake? The fastest ever speeding ticket was issued in Texas in 2003. A car with an unpronounceable name was involved in the Gumball Rally from San Francisco to Miami. It was clocked at 389 kilometres an hour in a 120 kilometre hour zone. Another hoon on a country road. Look how far the light truck pulls over to let him through. He's right on the grass verge. And this next guy must be doing way over 100 k's as he crosses the double yellow lines. Overtaking trucks often leads to drivers reaching dangerously high speeds, as truck driving expert Steve Mitchell knows all too well.
Normally happens is, car pulls out, gets halfway past the truck and realises, whoa, I've got to boot it to get past this guy. So then you end up doing 100, 110, 120 to come past me doing 90. So if anything had to go wrong in that manoeuvre, you'd be going that much faster, which means the damage in an accident situation would be that much greater, wouldn't it?
And then we have speeding clips where it's not one driver, but two racing each other.
It's a nice straight road with a passing lane, and our truck is doing 90. But what speed are these two doing? And what about the roadworks coming up? They are well into the 30k roadwork zone, but the vehicle on the outside is determined to get in front. And here's two more idiots. We're on a main country road when this car speeds past. Then his mate follows. And way down at the end of the straight, as they head into the corner, they're still side by side, straddling both sides of the road. It's only when an oncoming vehicle appears that the right-hand car finally pulls into the correct lane. That's a crazy game to play.
Our collection of speeding clips wouldn't be complete without boy races.
3 in the morning, so no surprise the motorway's free of traffic. But for some bizarre reason, these two idiots think it's an open invitation to use all 3 lanes. The truck driver doesn't hold back. After the break, danger on 2 wheels. And find out what's wrong with this picture. You'll be surprised at what we reveal.
And do you want to win your very own drive cam so that you can capture images of some mad driving on New Zealand roads? Well, here's your chance.
Keep watching Road Madness, and at the end of the show, answer a simple question and you'll go in the draw to win your own drive cam.
Before the break, we asked, what's wrong with this picture?
It looks harmless enough. Our truck is turning right at a major rural intersection, but then he suddenly stops. That's very odd, because we've seen nothing to make him stop. But look closely. As he's turning, you can just see the lights of another vehicle. What's happened is another vehicle has overtaken him as he's making the turn and sneaked in front, forcing the truck driver to stop so as not to hit the car.
That's incredibly dumb driving from that car driver, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see his number plate.
It's time now for our neck minute moment. That's when something that looks straightforward suddenly goes wrong. Look at the white car on the right. He waits for the blue car to pass.
Neck minute.
Ouch. Caught between a truck and a hard place. It's totally mystifying how the car driver missed seeing the truck. Maybe all his attention was focused on the truck coming from the other direction.
Cyclists, they have little or no protection and are often on the receiving end of ignorant and impatient drivers. But in these next clips, we're going to show you some of the foolhardy things that they think they can get away with.
Like this guy. It's late at night and he's got no lights on his bike. The truck driver only spots him at the very last minute. At least he chose a bright intersection to cross at. And here's a convoy of cyclists participating in what looks like an organised event. The cyclists don't seem to be making much of an effort to stay over to the left, but the vehicle drivers also have to be patient. And likewise here, the cyclist is causing a car jam on this two-lane bridge because the cars aren't allowed to go over the double yellow line. But the cyclist is perfectly entitled to be there. Unlike this guy hitching a ride by hanging onto the back of a truck. That's illegal and highly dangerous.
In this next clip, you've got to think that the cyclist has a death wish.
It's a reasonably busy suburban road, and this cyclist chooses to cross in a gap between trucks. It's not a wise move. He almost meets the same fate as the squashed bug on the windscreen. And is this the same guy, having a second attempt at killing himself? It's crazy. He just manages to thread himself between the two cars, and look how close he comes to being hit by the black car.
In an earlier episode, we showed you some clips of road rage.
Remember this guy who slammed on his brakes, forcing the truck to stop, and then opened the car door to yell something at the truck driver? And this guy?
Well, after those clips aired, a truck driver sent us his own clip of road rage. It is so out there, we've made it this week's What the Truck?
Our truck driver is driving a loaded truck and trailer weighing around 45 tonnes. He's following an even more heavily laden truck. So when he comes to this passing lane, he passes the truck in front. With the length of the other truck and the length of his trailer, it takes about 25 seconds to get past it and pull over to the left. But then watch this.
The driver of the hot rod deliberately slowed to force the truck driver to slam on his brakes, and I'll tell you what, he's damn lucky that that truck didn't plough into the back of him.
And then when the hot rod pulls away, he almost collides with other passing traffic.
Yep, spot on. You have to wonder what gets into the heads of some of these aggro drivers.
We think the hot rod driver was angry because our truck driver overtook the other truck and made him wait to get past. But the truck driver was perfectly within his rights to overtake, and he pulled over to the left as soon as he could to allow other vehicles past.
And remember, he was pulling a loaded trailer, so that hot rod driver was taking one hell of a risk making that truck stop suddenly.
When you're travelling in your heavy truck and you have to stop suddenly, you've got to take into fact the load that you've got on and whether the load is correctly restrained. If a load's not correctly restrained, the load itself is going to want to carry on at the same speed you were travelling at before you came to a stop, which could be disastrous. But even a well tied down load can shift forward under harsh braking.
Now, our truck cams aren't just confined to trucks in New Zealand, we also have them in trucks in Australia.
Our truck driver is moving into the right-hand fork of the lane he's in, when a small car makes a sudden lane change directly in front of our truck. It was a sudden lane change that could have been a serious life change. And here's another lane change involving a small, crushable car. However, this one decides to brake suddenly. The sudden braking happens just as they enter a 60 km/h area. And notice the driver's on a P licence. That should be P for piss poor.
Looks like these small car drivers in Aussie have got a few roos loose in the top paddock.
Because here's another one dicing with death at the lights. Our truck is on a green and well into the intersection when the car goes sailing through. And in this Aussie clip, our truck is on a two-lane motorway with an on-ramp coming in from the left. Watch the line of vehicles that are about to merge with the main flow of traffic. The vehicle that causes this chaos is the 4x4 at the front of the line of the three merging vehicles. For some reason, it stops suddenly. The vehicle behind it manages to stop, but the third car is too slow to react. It rear-ends the car in front, pushing it into the back of the 4x4. The third car in the line also makes the mistake of swerving out into the main flow of traffic, causing more mayhem. The car in front of our truck brakes and swerves into the neighbouring lane, forcing the truck in that lane to brake suddenly as well.
Luckily, the end result was just a little bit of nose-to-tail damage, because it could have easily have been a major pile-up. We'll take a break now, but we'll leave you to ponder this next video, which features some brilliant truck driving, and you'll understand why when you see what happens next.
We're on the motorway travelling at 90 kilometres an hour. There's hardly any traffic, so what can go wrong?
After the break, see what happens next.
And dangerous passing on the inside. And a stretch of road that's a crazy spot.
Welcome back to Road Madness. When we left you, our truck was cruising along the motorway. So, what happened next?
It's been raining. The road's greasy and light is reflecting off the wet road, making it doubly hard to see ahead. And then out of nowhere, a stationary car.
It may look like a simple bit of braking, but it's amazing that the driver managed to pull up in time and keep the truck under control.
Remember, the road's wet and slippery, and he's carrying a load, which means it takes longer to stop. And with other vehicles in the next lane, he didn't have the option of changing lanes. While we're looking at cars stopping in strange places, get a load of this. It's a main highway, and coming up on the left, you can see a vehicle. But look where it's parked, across the intersection. Brilliant.
There are some roads that are madness magnets. The road layout or the geography means that similar types of bad driving happen there. We call them crazy spots.
We're at the Pine Acres intersection on the outskirts of Christchurch. This clip was filmed back in 2008.
Stupid woman!
The driver has crossed over the solid yellow strip into a lane reserved for through traffic. If she had taken note of the yellow median and followed the turning lane around to her right, then she and the truck wouldn't have crossed paths. And here's another driver who makes the same mistake. Again, it's in 2008. And now, 2009, same era of judgment, this time by a campervan driver. And how about 2010? Surely drivers know what to do here after 2 years.
Bloody hell!
2011, and it's getting boring now. The median's been painted white, but drivers are still crossing it. Finally, 2012, and you guessed it, Pine Acres intersection is still a crazy spot.
We have heaps more clips of incidents at this intersection.
Like this near miss, where the white car overtakes as if the painted median isn't there. People living nearby must get sick to death of the sound of vehicle horns.
We all know that Christchurch has got loads of pressing road issues since the earthquake, and far be it from me to be a roading engineer, but this does look like a pretty simple fix.
Simply replace the painted median with a raised median, and problem solved.
Undertaking. No, I'm not talking about driving a hearse. That's our description of when somebody overtakes on the inside. It's dangerous, and our cameras catch a lot of people trying it on.
The driver of this car is hemmed in by trucks, but as soon as an opening appears, he's over to the left and sneaking around the corner. That's not a passing lane he's used there, it's a cycle lane. In this next clip, we're passing a road that's entering from the left, and the 2 lanes reduce down to 1, but then out of nowhere, this car scoots through on the inside.
Oh, beauty.
End of passing lanes. They almost invite dodgy undertaking moves, where a driver thinks he can squeeze through and be one less truck length down the road.
Here we go. The passing lane finishes, the 2 lanes merge down to 1. But hey, there's plenty of space over the left. Let's give it a go.
What if the truck driver hadn't have seen them coming and had pulled left?
The undertaker would have ended up in the trees. And here's another merging undertaker. That car goes so far to the left, it's almost on the grass verge. Looking at it again, it's so deliberate. The driver could easily have pulled in behind the truck, but no, he has to get in front.
And get a load of this next case of undertaking. It's hard to believe that anyone would try this on.
The action is happening on the opposite side of the road. Two cars appear down this long straight with the 4x4 pulling a Swifty on the inside. That's not a passing lane he's in. How crazy is that? Again, it almost looks like the two cars are racing one another. And here's another guy who can't bear the thought of being stuck behind a truck. And he would have finished his undertake if not for the roadworks.
Bloody idiot.
Idiot. That's probably the simplest way to describe the driving behaviour we're seeing here.
And there's no lack of undertaking idiots out there.
Finally, our weirdest undertaking clip. Weird because he's chosen an extremely odd spot to do it.
The truck driver is about to turn left into a yard. He pulls over to the right so as to get in through the narrow gateway. And then...
Whoa! Jesus Christ!
Why is he going off here?
That is his 7-year-old son, and it's a damn good question because even he knows that footpaths aren't for driving on.
Right, now's your chance to win your very own drive cam supplied by in-vehicle camera systems. And you too can be part of Road Madness. Simply text us the answer to this question and go in the draw to win. Earlier we showed you this video of a crash. Our truck is travelling on a dual lane motorway. There's hardly any traffic. It's been raining but visibility is pretty good. And then the weirdest thing happens.
So how did the car end up travelling the wrong way down the motorway? Did it A, go the wrong way down an off-ramp, B, do a U-turn, or C, go over the median barrier?
Text either A, B or C to the number you see below and go in the draw to win your very own drive cam. And I'll see you next week for more Road Madness. Next week on Road Madness, the story behind a dramatic crash. Dangerous U-turns put lives at risk and passing lanes go under the camera.